Eli walked along the loading dock of the space station, the metallic floor humming beneath his boots. The air smelled of oil and recycled oxygen. Cargo crates of all sizes were stacked high, and workers moved quickly, unloading supplies from the newest freighter. Eli was not a soldier or a high-ranking officer. He was just a maintenance boy, small and quiet, but he liked watching the ships arrive and leave. It gave him a sense of adventure he could not find anywhere else. As he passed a row of containers, something caught his eye. A small shape huddled beside a large cargo crate. At first he thought it was a stray animal, though he knew none belonged on the station. But when he got closer he saw that it was not an animal. It was a child, a very small child, but unlike any human he had ever seen. The girl had pale blue skin that shimmered slightly under the station lights. Her eyes were large and bright, glowing faintly, and her hands were tiny, trembling against her chest. She looked cold and frightened. Her clothes were torn and she shivered under the dim light, curling herself into a small ball. Eli's heart sank. He had seen many travelers, but never a human or alien child left alone on the docks. Without thinking, Eli stepped closer. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked softly. The girl flinched, looking at him with wide eyes. She did not speak, but a soft whimper escaped her lips. Eli crouched down to her level. "Don't be afraid," he said, trying to sound calm. "I won't hurt you." She stared at him for a long moment, then glanced toward the cargo container behind her. She pointed at it, but her gesture was uncertain. It was clear she wanted something from the crate, but she could not explain. Eli noticed scratches on her hands, as if she had tried to climb into the crate or had fallen. His chest tightened. Eli knew the station rules were strict. No alien life could wander freely without permission. But seeing her shivering and alone made him forget everything else. He took off his jacket and gently draped it over her shoulders. It was warm and heavy compared to her small frame. Instantly, her shivering slowed. She leaned slightly into the warmth, as if she understood that this human was trying to help. For a few moments they just looked at each other. Eli did not move. He wanted her to trust him. Slowly, she lifted one small hand and touched the edge of his jacket. The light in her eyes seemed to flicker brighter. She did not speak, but Eli felt a connection, something deeper than words. The sounds of the station continued around them. Workers shouted over machinery and cargo crates clanged as they were moved. Eli kept his voice low. "Do you want to come with me? There is a safe place inside." He gestured toward a nearby maintenance room, quiet and empty. The girl hesitated. Her eyes darted around the busy dock, fear in every glance. But the warmth of the jacket seemed to give her courage. Slowly she rose to her feet, wobbling but steady. Eli offered his hand. She stared at it, then took it, her grip surprisingly firm for someone so small. He smiled gently. "Good," he said. "We will figure this out together." As they walked toward the maintenance room, Eli noticed her glowing eyes watching everything. The moving crates, the flashing lights, the people bustling past. She seemed curious, even cautious, like she was learning about this strange human world. Inside the room, Eli helped her sit on a crate. He brought her a small pack of food from his own rations. She sniffed it, then hesitated. Finally, she took a small bite, her eyes lighting up slightly. Eli watched her carefully. She was fragile, yes, but there was something strong about her, something unusual. He could feel it in the way she studied him, like she understood more than he realized. Eli sat beside her, not touching, just giving her space. "I don't know where you came from," he said softly, "but I will help you. You won't be alone." The girl tilted her head and made a soft, musical sound. It was not a word, but Eli felt it was her way of saying thank you. Minutes passed. The noise of the station outside seemed distant now. For the first time she relaxed, leaning slightly against the warmth of Eli's jacket. He wondered about her home, what kind of place she came from, and why she had ended up here, alone and frightened. Something told him she was not an ordinary visitor. There was a quiet energy about her, a subtle glow that pulsed when she moved or blinked. Eli felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had never found anything like this before. Most days on the station were ordinary, filled with routines and small repairs. But this was different. Something important had just begun, and he had a feeling that meeting her would change his life forever. Outside, the station lights reflected off the metal walls. A new freighter docked and the hum of engines vibrated through the floor. But inside the quiet maintenance room, Eli and the alien girl sat together. He held onto his jacket around her, and she clung to its warmth. In that small moment, two beings from different worlds had found each other, and something unspoken passed between them. Eli did not know what adventures or challenges were ahead. He only knew that this girl needed him, and that humans had a way of helping, of protecting, and of trusting that others rarely understood. And for now that was enough. Eli watched the alien girl as she sat on the crate, wrapped in his jacket. She was still small, shivering slightly but calmer than before. Her large glowing eyes followed his every movement. Eli wanted to talk to her, to understand where she came from, but she did not speak any language he knew. That did not stop him. Humans had a way of communicating beyond words, he reminded himself. He knelt on the floor to be at her level. "Can you understand me?" he asked softly. She tilted her head, watching him carefully. She made a small musical sound like a whistle, but it was not a word. Eli smiled gently. "Okay, I guess not." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. A universal translator, but it was offline because the station had poor reception. Still he tried. He pressed a few buttons and a faint voice said random phrases in many languages. The girl jumped slightly and then relaxed again, listening to the strange sounds. Eli realized he would have to use gestures. He pointed to the food he had given her. "Eat," he said, exaggerating the motion. She looked at it, then at him, and finally took a small piece of bread in her hand. She tasted it slowly, her eyes widening as she chewed. Eli laughed quietly. "See? Not so bad." She made a small sound again, more like a giggle, and looked at him with what seemed like curiosity. Time passed slowly. Eli drew simple pictures in the dust on the floor. He drew a box and pointed at her, hoping to show her that they were inside a station. He drew a star and pointed up, showing that she came from somewhere far away. The alien girl watched carefully, her glowing eyes following every movement. Then, very slowly, she lifted a tiny hand and traced the lines he had drawn with one delicate finger. When her finger touched the star he had drawn, it glowed faintly under her touch. Eli stared, amazed. "You're special," he whispered. She made a soft noise again, almost like she understood him. Eli felt a strange warmth in his chest. Humans had always prided themselves on courage, kindness, and curiosity. Now he realized these traits could reach across worlds. She was learning and so was he. Eli tried other gestures. He pointed at himself and said, "Eli," then pointed at her. She repeated the sound he made, but it came out differently, like a soft chime. "Close enough," he said, smiling. He wanted to know her name, but he knew it would take time. She looked at him, and for the first time he thought she was trying to smile. Her lips moved slightly, but no sound came. Eli reached out and touched her hand gently. She did not pull away. A sudden noise outside the room made them both jump. Workers were moving crates and shouting orders. The girl's eyes flickered nervously, and she clutched Eli's jacket tighter. He put his hand over hers. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm here." She leaned slightly into him, trusting him more with each passing moment. Eli felt proud, not because he had done something great, but because he had given her a sense of safety in a strange place. Eli thought about what to do next. They could not stay in the maintenance room forever. Someone might notice her. But he could not send her away. He needed a plan, something simple and safe. He looked around the room and saw some empty crates and blankets. He arranged them into a small corner and helped her lie down. "Rest a little," he said. "We will figure everything out later." She curled up under the jacket again and made a soft humming sound. Eli guessed it meant thank you. While she rested, Eli tried to think like her. Where would he go if he were alone on a station filled with humans? He would want someone kind, someone who would not judge or hurt him. Eli realized humans had this ability in their hearts, to help, to protect, and to connect. Even across species it worked. Hours passed. Eli brought more food and water. The alien girl began to eat more confidently. She tried to imitate him, holding a small cup and drinking carefully. Her glowing eyes sparkled like stars. Eli laughed quietly. "You're learning fast," he said. She responded with a soft musical noise that sounded almost like laughter. For the first time, Eli felt that words were not always necessary. Eli then tried another experiment. He showed her how to point at things and make simple signs for yes and no. She copied him slowly, her small hands moving carefully. They developed a simple rhythm of communication. A nod meant yes. A shake of the head meant no. A soft hum meant happiness or trust. By the end of the day they could communicate in small ways. It was enough to understand that she was scared, hungry, and far from home. As night fell over the station, the lights dimmed. Eli sat beside her, holding her hand gently. He did not know her world, her species, or what challenges lay ahead. But he knew one thing: humans had a special gift. They could care, they could understand, and they could connect. And that gift had reached this small alien girl, shivering beside the cargo, in a place she had never known before. For the first time she looked at him fully without fear. Her glowing eyes seemed to say without words, "I trust you." Eli smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the jacket. Tomorrow would bring more questions, more challenges, but for tonight, trust was enough. And in the quiet hum of the space station, two beings from different worlds sat together, learning to speak without words, and discovering that even in the vast emptiness of space, connection could happen. The next morning Eli woke early. The alien girl was still asleep, curled under his jacket. The soft glow from her eyes pulsed faintly, like tiny stars in the dim room. Eli watched her for a moment, feeling responsible for her safety. He had never protected anyone like this before, and he knew it would not be easy. The station was busy, full of humans who followed strict rules, and anyone would notice a strange alien child wandering alone. He quietly stood and checked the door. The corridor outside was crowded with workers moving crates and equipment. He could hear the loud hum of engines and the distant chatter of voices. Eli knew that if someone found the alien girl first, they might call security or quarantine her immediately. That could be frightening or even dangerous for her. He needed to act carefully. He returned to her side. "Wake up," he whispered softly, brushing his hand over hers. The alien girl stirred, blinking her glowing eyes slowly. She sat up, looking around nervously. Eli gestured for her to stay calm and pointed to the jacket still wrapped around her. She clutched it tightly. He nodded. "We have to be careful today," he said, using gestures and soft words. She made a small musical sound and leaned slightly into him. He understood it as agreement. Eli thought quickly. He could not keep her hidden in the maintenance room forever. He needed to find a place where they could talk, eat, and rest safely. But he also knew humans at the station were curious and some were strict about rules. They might not understand that she was lost and scared. He had to protect her. As he led her down the corridor, a group of station officers appeared. They were tall and serious, wearing bright uniforms. One of them stopped abruptly, noticing the small glowing figure beside Eli. "Hey, what is that?" the officer demanded. Eli froze, his heart pounding. The alien girl clutched his hand and stayed quiet, her eyes wide and glowing brighter. Eli held his breath and smiled gently. She is lost," he said. "I found her beside a cargo container. She needs help." The officer raised an eyebrow. "This is not allowed. All alien life must be registered immediately. You cannot just wander the station with whatever this is." His voice was strict, cold. Eli shook his head, trying to stay calm. "Please," he said. "She is a child. She is scared. She doesn't know anyone here. She needs protection, not rules right now." He looked down at her. She made a soft noise and touched his hand as if supporting him. Eli felt a surge of courage. Humans had the ability to do the right thing even when it was difficult. He had to act. The officer stepped closer. "You must bring her to the quarantine room." Eli shook his head again. "No. That will frighten her. Please give me time. I can keep her safe. I promise." The officer hesitated, unsure what to do. Eli realized he had to show that she could trust humans. He knelt slightly and gestured to the alien girl, showing that she was calm beside him. She made a soft humming sound and leaned slightly into his jacket. Another officer appeared and the situation became tense. "If she is unregistered, she must be contained immediately," the new officer said. Eli took a deep breath. "She is not dangerous. She is small, frightened, and alone. She will not hurt anyone. Please, let me help her." His voice was quiet but firm. The officers exchanged looks. Finally, the first one sighed and stepped back. "You have 5 minutes? Then she must be moved." Eli nodded quickly. He turned to the alien girl and whispered, "We have to be brave. Stay close to me." She clutched his hand and nodded slightly, the glow of her eyes pulsing faster. Together, they moved toward a small storage corridor that Eli knew was quiet. The hum of engines and voices faded behind them. Inside the corridor, Eli knelt beside her again. "It's okay," he said. "You are safe for now. I will not let anything happen to you." She looked at him with her glowing eyes and he saw trust there, clear and bright. He realized that humans had something unique, the ability to care, to act bravely even when others doubted them. That trait could protect not just themselves, but others, even alien children from distant worlds. He decided that they needed a plan. They could not stay here forever and they could not draw attention. But they could move quietly, avoid the main halls, and find a place to rest. He explained this with gestures, pointing at doors and hallways, showing her where to follow. She watched closely and imitated him, stepping carefully beside him. Hours passed as they moved through the station in secret. Workers passed by, unaware of the glowing little girl hiding in plain sight. Eli brought her small pieces of food and water. She ate slowly, still frightened but learning to trust him more with every passing hour. Each time she made a soft humming sound, Eli felt it was a tiny victory, proof that humans could connect with anyone if they tried. By evening they reached a small unused storage bay. It was quiet, with enough space for her to sit and rest. Eli helped her settle down, placing blankets from his jacket around her. "We'll stay here for tonight," he whispered. "Tomorrow we will figure out the rest." She leaned against the warmth and let out a soft hum. Eli watched her, thinking about the day. The station was vast, full of rules and humans who often did not understand life beyond their own. But he knew that humans had a strength beyond rules, the ability to protect, to trust, and to act with kindness even when it was hard. That strength had earned the alien girl's trust. Outside, the station lights blinked, and the hum of engines vibrated through the walls. Inside, Eli and the alien girl rested together. For the first time she was not afraid. And Eli knew that no matter what challenges came next, humans had something special that could shine across worlds, even in the most dangerous moments. The next morning Eli woke early. The alien girl was sitting up this time, her glowing eyes scanning the quiet storage bay. She had slept more peacefully than the night before, wrapped in his jacket and surrounded by blankets. Eli smiled softly. It felt good to see her less afraid. He had started to feel a special connection with her, something that went beyond words. Humans had a way of forming bonds that crossed worlds, and he was learning it now. He sat beside her and offered some food. She hesitated at first, then took it slowly, watching him the whole time. Her eyes flickered with curiosity, and Eli realized that she was trying to understand him, just as he was trying to understand her. Humans could teach and humans could learn, sometimes at the same time. That was what he was discovering now. Eli wanted to communicate more. He drew simple pictures in the dust on the floor, showing their surroundings and how they had moved through the station. The alien girl traced the lines with her small hand, glowing faintly when her finger touched the drawings. It was clear that she was learning quickly. She could see, understand, and even mimic what he did. Eli felt proud, not because it was easy but because he could connect with her in a way that others could not. After a while, Eli stood and looked around the storage bay. "We can explore a little," he said softly. He gestured toward the small hallways he had seen the day before. The alien girl tilted her head but followed him cautiously. He noticed that she was trying to copy his steps, moving carefully and watching for obstacles. She was learning not only from his gestures but also from his patience and calmness. Humans had a way of teaching by example, and she was already noticing it. As they walked through the quiet corridors, Eli explained things with gestures. He showed her where the food was stored, where the maintenance tools were, and how to open small doors. She watched closely, her glowing eyes wide with fascination. She even reached out and tried to open a small panel, and when she succeeded, she looked at him as if to say, "I can do it too." Eli laughed quietly. That spark of understanding was what humans could give: patience, trust, and guidance. By mid-afternoon, they found a small observation deck overlooking the docking bay. Eli gestured for her to sit and watch. "Look," he said, pointing at the ships arriving and leaving. She stared in awe, her eyes shining brighter than usual. The ships were huge, powerful, and strange, but she seemed fascinated rather than afraid. Eli realized that humans had a natural curiosity that could be shared with others. It was what made them explorers, protectors, and friends across the galaxy. They spent hours together, learning from each other. Eli taught her simple signs: yes, no, come, and stay. She copied him carefully, sometimes making mistakes but always trying. He laughed softly at her small errors, and she made musical sounds in response. They were building a language of trust, one that required no words. Humans could teach not only knowledge but also confidence, and she was beginning to feel it. As evening fell, Eli suggested returning to the storage bay. She followed, but this time she held his hand without hesitation. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. Humans had a way of forming bonds that were strong enough to cross species, and she was already responding to it. Eli felt a deep sense of responsibility but also a sense of joy. Caring for someone else, teaching, guiding, and sharing trust, it was what made humans remarkable. Back in the storage bay, Eli helped her settle down again. He brought blankets and adjusted his jacket around her. She leaned against him slightly, her glowing eyes reflecting the dim light. He felt a warmth in his chest, not just from helping her but from the bond they had created. Humans could give care and understanding in ways that others often underestimated. He realized that this was why humans could make friends, allies, and even heroes across the galaxy. He talked softly as she rested, explaining simple things about the station, how it moved, where the cargo came from, and what humans did every day. She listened attentively, her eyes following his gestures. Occasionally she made small musical sounds as if responding. Eli realized she was learning not only words and gestures but also trust and connection. Humans had a special power, empathy. They could teach it and share it even without speaking. Hours passed and the alien girl finally relaxed completely. She curled under the jacket, humming softly. Eli sat beside her, watching. Outside, the station lights blinked, and ships hummed in the docking bays. Inside, two beings from different worlds were learning something important. Humans had a unique ability to form bonds, to teach, to protect, and to inspire trust. That ability had reached this small alien girl, and it had changed her already. Eli realized that tomorrow would bring new challenges. They might have to hide, travel, or explain her presence to others. But for now, the bond they had created was enough. Humans had a way of helping that went beyond fear or rules. They could form connections that lasted, and that connection was now real, strong, and visible even in her glowing eyes. As night fell over the station, Eli and the alien girl rested together. He felt proud, not of himself but of what humans could give: patience, kindness, courage, and trust. She had learned to follow, to understand, and to connect. And he knew that this bond would guide them through whatever came next. The next morning, Eli woke to find the alien girl already awake. Her glowing eyes flickered as she looked around the storage bay. Today would be different. They had spent days together learning, communicating, and building trust, but now it was time to face what came next. Eli had discovered a faint signal on his scanner, a message that might lead them to her home or to help from her people. He knelt beside her and gently touched her hand. "I found a signal," he said softly. "It might lead us to your home." She tilted her head, her eyes glowing brighter. She made a small musical sound as if asking what would happen. Eli smiled gently. "We have to go," he said. "You can finally return, but I will be here with you until you are safe." They moved through the station quietly, using the hidden corridors Eli had found during the last days. The alien girl stayed close, clutching his hand and occasionally looking up at him. He could feel the bond between them, strong and real. Humans had a way of forming trust that others often did not understand. This bond had kept her calm, guided her, and allowed her to learn from him. When they reached the communications room, Eli set up his scanner to follow the signal. The device beeped softly, pointing toward the station's docking bay. Eli turned to her. "Your people, or someone from your world, will come for you soon," he said. She looked at him with wide eyes, glowing softly. She did not speak, but she reached out and touched his face gently. Eli felt warmth from her touch, a silent thank you for everything he had done. Minutes later, a small shuttle appeared at the docking bay, its lights blinking in sequence. The alien girl's eyes brightened, and she pulled slightly on Eli's hand. "Go," she seemed to say. But Eli hesitated. He had grown attached to her too. Humans had a way of caring deeply, sometimes more than they expected. He had helped her, taught her, and protected her. Letting her go now was harder than he thought. The shuttle's ramp lowered and figures emerged. They were small, elegant beings, glowing faintly like her, with gentle eyes. The alien girl stood and ran to them, looking back at Eli. He waved and she returned the gesture, her glowing eyes shining with gratitude. Eli felt a mix of sadness and pride. Humans had a special ability: to help, to connect, and to leave a mark on others' lives, even across worlds. Before stepping onto the shuttle, the alien girl paused. She reached into a small pouch on her belt and handed Eli a glowing crystal. It was warm to the touch, pulsing softly like her heartbeat. Eli understood immediately. This was not just a gift. It was a symbol of their bond, a reminder that humans could inspire trust, courage, and connection even in the farthest corners of the galaxy. Eli took the crystal carefully. "I will never forget you," he said softly. She hummed, and the sound was beautiful, almost like a song. Then she turned and followed her people onto the shuttle. The ramp closed slowly, and the engines hummed as it lifted off the docking bay. Eli watched until it disappeared into the distance, leaving only the soft glow of her crystal in his hand. He stood there for a long moment, feeling the emptiness left behind. But he did not feel hopeless. He knew that humans had something special: kindness, courage, patience, and the ability to form bonds that others could not. That gift had reached the alien girl, changed her, and helped her return to safety. Eli smiled softly, knowing that humans' true power was not in weapons or technology, but in their hearts. As he walked back through the station, he thought about everything that had happened. Humans had a unique spark that could cross worlds. Even small actions, a jacket shared, patience shown, a hand held, could create trust, hope, and friendship. The alien girl had shown him that connections could last even across light years. Eli placed the glowing crystal on his desk, watching it pulse softly. It reminded him of her eyes, the trust they had shared, and the courage they had built together. Humans had the ability to inspire, protect, and care in ways that no one else could. That was why they were remarkable, and that was why even across the galaxy, other species could recognize their strength. Days later, Eli returned to his usual routine, but nothing felt ordinary anymore. The station was the same, the engines still hummed, and the cargo crates still clanged. But inside him, something had changed. He had helped someone from another world, formed a bond, and shown what humans could do. And he knew deep inside that this was just the beginning. Somewhere far away, the alien girl looked at the stars from her shuttle. She held the memory of Eli close, remembering the kindness, the warmth, and the courage of the human who had saved her. She hummed softly, a melody of gratitude and trust. And somewhere in that vast galaxy, humans had made a difference again. Eli smiled as he looked out over the docking bay. He did not know what adventures awaited him next, but he knew one thing: humans had a gift. They could inspire, protect, and connect. And sometimes, that gift was enough to change the universe.